There are so many things in this world we can choose to be. We can choose to be unhappy. We can choose to be angry. We can choose to be frustrated. We can choose to be mean. We could choose to bully. We can choose to terrify. We can choose any sort of negativity. But what does that gain?
Hi, and welcome to 5 Random Questions, the show where every question is an adventure. I'm your host, Danny Brown, and each week I'll be asking my guests 5 questions created by a random question generator. The guest has no idea what the questions are, and neither do I, which means this could go either way. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into this week's episode. Today's guest is Sean Dillon. Sean has hosted more than 600 episodes of Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon, an excellent interview-style show that flips the format a bit, resulting in his guests sharing stories you probably never heard elsewhere. Now, Sean says he still doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up, but I have a few suggestions based on one of the things I'm going to ask him in the intro. So, Sean, welcome to 5 Random Questions.
Always good to be with you, my brother. How's life treating you?
Well, as we were speaking about in the green room just before the recording here, it's very snowy and cold here in Canada where I am at the moment. We had about 3 foot of snow over the last couple of weeks, so it's been fun. How about you?
It's snowing in Texas, so, but not to the same extreme as you.
When you say it's been snowing in Texas, that kind of boggles my mind a little bit because Texas is one of the last places I'd expect snow. Is that a recent thing? Or is that something that's always happened?
No, there's always snow. Now, you didn't say if it's stuck. That's the difference. Because for me, there's no snow that is sticking on the ground. You've got, 3-4 feet?
Yeah, and we're lucky. There's a couple of places just south of us. So we live in a little place called Port Sydney, which is in Muskoka in Ontario, central Ontario in Canada. So about 20 kilometres to the south of us is a place called Bracebridge, and about another 20 kilometres after that is a place called Gravenhurst. And they've had it 5 feet tall, and you can see them like snowed in. Their roofs are, having to be shoveled off, otherwise they'll collapse. And they had it really bad. I mean, I'm complaining about my 3 foot, but bless them, they had it a lot worse than me.
Well, that's how the world is. For us, it's just a little snow drizzles. It'll melt, and then in the next couple days it'll probably be sunshine and 70 all over again.
Nice. Out on the barbecue, getting all ribs going.
Always. Okay. I know you've got those 5 random questions.
I do.
I am. It's almost a steal of the Rocky and 8, one of the features on Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon. But you know what? You're a good guy.
You'll let it fly. Well, one thing I do want to bring up, actually, because you mentioned it when we were getting you scheduled on the episode, you did remind me that the last time I had you on a podcast of mine, that was the last episode of that show after 3 episodes, and it went defunct. So what the heck, man? What's your issue?
I don't know. You're the one who stopped. I mean, I was willing to be back again in a couple hundred episodes and say, look at all the success that this podcast has had. And then you stopped, and that kind of made me think that I canceled you again. So let's make a deal. You continue to do this for, let's go 100 episodes. Then maybe you can, wind it down.
I will take the blame off you a little bit. I mean, I'll take the blame off you completely, to be honest. It was a video podcast. It's the first proper video podcast, if you like, that I'd done. And I don't like video. I said that on the episodes, actually. I'm far more comfortable doing audio only, and it's just a lot more work. So I thought this would be a good time just to nix it before, because it was just taking crazy amounts of time. I really enjoyed obviously having you on and my other 2 guests and hearing about your other podcasts. But video is not for me, mate. So I just want to like
video. And that's the thing. And that's a question I have for you is, with your work at Captivate and in the podcasting industry, there's been such a big push toward, if you're not on video, well, I've been in radio for 30 years. What is the impetus for everyone to feel like, we need to have video everywhere? Audio has its place. If you listen to a podcast and there's no video, you have the ability of putting that image in your mind. If there's video, it's distracting from it and it takes away from what you see. Like for me, what people can't see is I got a gold record over my left shoulder. I've got a Christmas tree over my right shoulder. I've got my logo over there, but they can't see it. So for everyone else that's just listening, they can imagine that I am in Texas, surrounded by 30 inches of snow. There's a fire roaring in the incredible stone fireplace that's behind me. But what's the deal with video podcasting, and why do you think that it's wrong for the industry?
Yeah, so I mean, one of my guests on this show, actually, Elsie Escobar, who's the next guest up on the episode that releases on Thursday. It would have been last Thursday, but power outages put pay to that, unfortunately. She makes a great point about it, where a lot of the reporting that's coming out about this is, not always, but a lot of it is by people that weren't doing podcasting or around the industry prior to 2020. So all they know is what happened after 2020. So obviously a lot of people started podcasting. Video podcasting became really big because the likes of Joe Rogan got multi-million-dollar deals. The Call Me Daddy, Call Her Daddy podcast obviously got big sponsorship. So a lot of the reporting has been since 2020. So that's kind of skewing it a bit. But again, it's, audio podcasting for me is more intimate. There's nothing wrong with videos. If that's your thing, you prefer watching videos and making videos, have at it. It's all good. If you prefer audio only, equally all good. We know thousands and thousands of podcasters at Captivate that are audio only, having great success with their shows. So it's one of these things. There's always going to be someone that wants you to, sign up to their course to make great video podcasts, or hire their agency to edit great video podcasts. And a lot of times when you see people saying you have to be on video, otherwise you'll be redundant, there can be a sort of back issue to that, right?
Oh, exactly. And I had a friend who was asking me if maybe they should change their name because it needs to be explained to people who haven't experienced their podcast. And I'm like, what does Dateline NBC mean? What does the Joe Rogan Experience mean? How do I know what 8750 means? What about the Profit Podcast? All great podcasts, but if you don't listen, what is Dateline NBC? If you didn't watch TV and you heard Dateline NBC, you'd still have to be explained it. What's 8750? Well, if you didn't listen, you'd have to still listen. Having a title that explains everything, that again takes away the joy. If you are doing the SEO, if you're optimizing tags, it's Bill Shakespeare had it right. What's in a name that we call a rose? This by any other name would smell as sweet. It's all about the content. And whether it be video content, there's some people that are incredible video podcasters. I'm not one of them. There are some people that are great audio podcasters. I strive to be one of them. And I think as long as you know in your mind where you are and where you want to be, you'll be fine.
100%, 100%. And speaking of where I want you to be, I want you in the hot seat now. So with that little segue,
let's go.
I'm going to bring up the random question generator screen and let's see what we have. Okay, I've never had this question before, so this is good. Sean, question number 1. You've been given an elephant. You can't get rid of it. What would you do with it?
I would take it to my in-laws' ranch down in Fredericksburg, and I would let it sit there and enjoy the warmth. And I'm not getting rid of it because it's part of family's place. It has plenty of room with acreage to live. I'm going to take care of it. It's going to be fed and well loved.
And why? I mean, obviously there's like land in, and it sounds like there's a really good environment there. So it's got the grass, it's got the water, it's got all the stuff that you'd expect an elephant to have. But that's one elephant. Now, elephants, I'd imagine, get lonely on their own. Maybe they don't. I'm not an elephant expert. Would you consider getting a second elephant to keep this elephant company, or would that be more in your family?
Well, here's the thing. I've been given an elephant. Now, if they were kind, they would give me two elephants. It's like if my wife would have all the dogs that she would want, she would take all the dogs that people would give her. I mean, she is we have a what we call our land seal. It's a black lab. We rescued it. And if my wife had her way, she would have 10 dogs, 20 dogs, 30 dogs. She's a dog mom. But again, you want to be able to give that animal the best life. So that's what my whole thing would be, is give the animal its best life. If it's lonely, we'll have to find a friend.
And I'm curious why someone would give an elephant. I mean, where would the elephant come from? Is it, like you say, you want to give the elephant its best life. So is it a circus that realizes, you know what, this is obviously not a good life for the elephant. This looks a great family. But I'm wondering, how would someone get an elephant in the first place, especially in Texas?
Well, hold on here. I mean, come on. Someone passes away and you've been willed an elephant. I mean, imagine that. You're sitting there in your home in Port Sydney, and someone wants to go to Muskogee Lodge, and they say, what we're going to do is, Danny, congratulations. You are the winner of an elephant. You can't get rid of it. You have to do it. Now, would you be able to give it its best home right there, right now?
I would not, purely because we've got a little bungalow. So even though we've got a decent sized yard, it's not suited for an elephant.
Exactly. So whatever it is, I would want to give this elephant its best life. And that's what I think we all need to do, is be able to give our best to whatever it is we do, our job, our podcast, our hobbies, our family. If we are giving them our best and their best experience, then not only will they thrive, but we'll thrive.
I like that. I'm going to give you extra kudos points for naming Muskogee Lodge properly, by the way. So kudos on that. I like that. But yeah, it's like, I do like that approach. And I've known you for a little while, mate. I see that all the time in our interactions and what you do online and with others. So I feel we can comfortably tell our listeners, if they do have an elephant somewhere that they're not quite doing well with when it comes to looking after, let's get it over to Texas and it'll be looked after. Agreed?
Let's get it to wherever the elephant will thrive.
All righty. I like that. That's a good place to look at where question number 2 is going to take us. But I like that. A good opening there. Okay. Interesting. Question number 2, Sean. If you could only speak one word today, what would you say?
Love.
Is that love for others? Is it love for the world globally? Where would you go with love?
Love. If you're saying I can only say one word, then it'd be love. It's either love or compassion. And that's just, there are so many things in this world we can choose to be. We can choose to be unhappy. We can choose to be angry. We can choose to be frustrated. We can choose to be mean. We could choose to bully. We can choose to terrify. We can choose any sort of negativity. But what does that gain? Where do we go? Where do we grow? How do we become better? And that's where, if we are compassionate and we give love, our first interaction, I had a question and you didn't have to answer it. There was no obligation by you to say, I wasn't a Captivate client. I wasn't anyone that you know. I said, hey, what are you doing with, why do you suggest A? And you said, oh, because of this. And you didn't have to. There was no obligation. but you saw something more, something better, and you want to engage with people and be a better person for them. And I think if we're compassionate and we give love to everyone, even our enemies. I've got people who don't like me without a doubt. And thank you. I cannot control their happiness. I cannot control their sadness. They may be going through worse times than I am, and I'm gone probably through some worse times than other people have. I'm not a millionaire and I don't have all the answers. But if I could speak only one word today, it would probably be love.
I like that. And I also that ties back to the elephant question as well. Like make sure that the elephant is in a place that it's loved. One thing that I don't struggle with that I find interesting is I'm going to say conflict, but that's completely the wrong word. But where someone feels they're doing something through love for another person, but that's not actually helping or respecting that person's wishes. Do you think like love can be not confused, but can be difficult to gauge because the person is trying to change someone's opinion, idea?
Love is impossible. Love is impossible to understand. Being compassionate, being caring, there are people that don't want it. And I have a friend. Let me just tell the story because it's a basically will answer that question. I have a friend who struggled through addiction, through divorce, through all sorts of tragedy. And I was always there for that person. There are several times where he would cuss me out and tell me, I don't need your help. I don't need you. And yet, being compassionate and being loving toward them, when they did finally understand that they needed help and they needed someone to talk to, I was there. If you don't have that compassion and if they don't want it, you still give it. You still have it available. You still leave your heart open and you try to be a better person. I have told this to so many people, and it's almost a mantra for me. We are all broken. Nobody has it all made. People seem to think they have, oh, Danny, he's got all the success in the world, but you have failures that you obsess about. I want to try to give more than I take, love more than I hate, and listen more than I speak. I'm broken. We're all broken, but I'm trying to be better the next day. So there are going to be people that do not want me to be compassionate to them or to give them love. I've got to keep giving because there'll be one day that they'll need it and they'll want it.
Would you say being present or being available is the purest form of love then?
Listening is the purest form of love. Danny, that's what it is. How many times have someone said to you, all I wanted was someone to listen to what I had to say? It's not a matter of if they are right or wrong about what they have to say. How many family dinners have we all sat through with that uncle that said the most horrible or terrible things in the world, but all he wanted was someone to listen to him?
Yeah, the family dinners are a great example. I mean, it's always the uncle for some reason. I'm not sure why that. Maybe we should just stop inviting uncles to dinners. Avoid all the drama. But I like that.
Drama is going to be there no matter what.
Yeah. No, I like that. And like you say, it's how we respond to that drama. Do we enable it? Do we enhance it? Or do we understand where it's coming from and try converse about it?
Exactly.
I like that. I like that a lot. Well, that was a nice question there and a really, really nice answer. So thank you for that, Sean.
I appreciate you. What you got next left?
Let's have a look at question number 3. Okay, Sean, question 3, and I feel I may know the answer to this based on the answer you just gave. But question number 3, have you ever cried at a movie?
Oh, never, ever.
Really? Yeah, you're laughing. Okay, I was gonna, that was going to throw me for a loop if that was correct.
If a movie does its job and can give a way to convey a story, an emotion, a feeling, then it should. Now, I'm not going to say that Terminator made me cry. I'm not going to say that Saw made me cry. But if the movie has a message, a meaning, and it can convey it with an emotional thing, and I don't know what that is. It depends on each thing. It depends on each movie. But if it can convey a emotion and it can do it in a way, yeah, it can make you cry.
So I've got 2 little bonus follow-ups here then, just on that. What was the first one, what was the last movie you cried at?
I've got the funny answer and then the real answer. The funny answer, Old Yeller. You know, it always gets me right here.
I think that's a given though, Old Yeller.
The thing is that I don't watch a lot of, my wife is the one who wants to go and watch those heart-wrenching movies, and I just want to go see things blow up. So, I mean, I can't remember the last time I cried at a movie, but I know I've cried at movies.
Is there one? I mean, you mentioned that you want to see things blow up. Did you? Maybe not so cry, but so much. But I'm thinking of something like Saving Private Ryan at the end of that, where all hell is breaking loose, and then it's Tom Hanks in a single shot. Like you get emotional with these kind of movies too, or is it you're still ensconced in the action?
I think you're ensconced with the action. I mean, that right there, you know, it all depends, but I think you're right there. Yeah, I just don't. It's one of those things where I just look and no, I can't. I can't really say that there is a movie. No, I thought about it.
That's all good. We've got Old Yeller, and we've got maybe we'll have to make an elephant movie. But nothing happens to the elephant, obviously. It's like the John Wick movies.
Oh, yeah, of course. No. Danny wants to do something to the elephant.
No. I want to put that out there right
elephant.
away. Nothing.
What did that elephant do to you? Have you ever ridden an elephant, Danny?
Oh, no, I have not. No, I get scared of horses. I'm sure I'd be okay with elephants for some reason, but I got bit by a horse when I was a lot younger, and since then, I just not loathe them. That's horrible. I'm very scared of them, so I'm loath to go near them, I should say.
Okay.
Have you?
I've never. I've been near elephants. I've petted elephants. I went to the Barnum and Bailey Circus and fed the elephants. But I have never cried at an elephant.
Not even Dumbo. Well, I guess Dumbo's kind of a sad movie.
I think the best elephant movie that you have to bring up is Dumbo. So but remember, Dumbo could fly without the feather.
Yeah, and I still prefer the animated, like the old cartoon version versus the remake. The remake was fine, but the old animated version was classic Disney.
Perfect.
What have I told you? There's a podcast dedicated to introducing you to your next favourite show. Feed the Queue does just that. It's the ultimate podcast discovery podcast. Each episode features a podcast you might not have heard of, so you'll never have to worry about finding the next thing to listen to. The team from Tink Media, an award-winning podcast marketing company, keep your queue fed, and every time they introduce a new episode, you can't help getting intrigued by their excitement. They're constantly listening to what's out there, so you know you're getting recommendations from people who love audio. It's a podcast lover's paradise. Follow Feed the Queue on your favourite listening app, and your queue will never go hungry again. Hey there, Danny here. This podcast will forever be free to listen to. But if you enjoy 5 Random Questions and get value from the show and want to support it, you can do that with a donation of your choosing over at 5randomquestions.com/support. And thanks so much for supporting the show. Now, back to this week's episode. Speaking of perfect, we have perfectly reached the midway stage, so let's have a look and see what comes up for question number 4. Okay, question 4, Sean. What's the craziest or most out-of-character thing you've ever done?
Nothing.
So nothing out the wheelhouse?
Look, I have dressed up as Santa Claus. I've been in an eagle costume. I have danced for kids at a who were sick at a children's hospital. It's life. If you are afraid of living, why are you here? If you are afraid of stuff, why are you living? I think there are things that I won't do. I won't skydive. I won't, I don't like heights. But as in, out of character stuff, for the longest time, I wouldn't, here's the thing. For the longest time, I wouldn't do interviews. I wouldn't do interviews because I hated people asking about me. That's why I started Beyond the Mic, is so I could ask other people questions. And I had a podcaster ask me, why don't you do interviews? And I said, not about me. Why don't you talk about yourself? It's not about me. It's never been about me. So I think the craziest or most out of character thing that I would ever do would be actually talk about me and my history.
Kind of like what we're doing now, but not. Well, yeah, I guess a little bit. But you mentioned obviously dress up. So that I like the fact that you dress up, and obviously the work that you did there with the hospital and the kids at the hospital was amazing. You mentioned you dressed up as an eagle. Was that the bird eagle? Was that like a Glenn Frey or a Don Henley kind of deal?
Oh, no. We're talking full eagle costume for 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
I mean, walking down 3 miles in 105-degree heat in eagle costume and then passing out, as craziest. Yeah, I've done it.
I couldn't imagine. Obviously the eagle makes sense for the 4th of July, but I couldn't imagine in the Texas heat. I've not been to Texas. Have I been to Texas? No, I haven't. But I've been to like Florida. That's really humid and sticky there. And like the thought of putting on a feathery, big, heavy costume, fair play to you, mate. That's a better man than me when it comes to that for sure. It's
the 4th of July. We'll do anything for independence.
I can't say anything because I'm a Brit, obviously. So anything I would say would be probably, bad. So, but that's cool. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't see it. So, I guess maybe the most out of character thing would be doing something very, very opposite. Like you say, being on a show where you're talking about yourself and your history, as opposed to being the host that brings these stories out of your guests.
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate you coming on this show and the one that you caused to go defunct previously, even though we said it wasn't really fault.
I did not cause. You stop doing the show, Danny. Stop making the excuse. You couldn't handle the pressure. You couldn't handle it when the lights hit you, and we know the truth. We know the truth. I'm rubbing my hands together because I know we are one question away from me asking my question to you. So I have got a doozy for you.
Well, see, now I'm genuinely nervous. I will say, if anybody's curious about the show that Sean and I were talking about, there are 3 episodes up on YouTube. If you go to my podcast channel, and I'll leave the links in the show notes, you'll find it there. It was called My Other Podcast Is, and the video version of that is up there with the 3 episodes, and you can see exactly what Sean was on about, where I stared like a deer in the headlights of an oncoming truck when the camera started recording. Well, in the meantime, let's have a look at question. I feel I want to string this one along now. In the meantime, let's find out what question number 5 is. Interesting. Okay, Sean, and I don't know if you've been from Texas or not, but question number 5, Sean, would you leave your hometown forever or stay in your hometown forever?
I've lived in so many places, New York, Texas, Ohio. So growing up, I never knew what a hometown meant. Lubbock is the closest thing to a hometown for me. I've lived more in Lubbock these last 30 years than I ever did in any other town, in any other city, for any length of time. I mean, the longest time I lived in any city was maybe 2-3 years.
And so you mentioned you live in Lubbock, and Lubbock, Texas, that's where Buddy Holly's from, correct?
Yep,
awesome.
Correct, Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly, one of my all-time favorites. You weren't born in Lubbock, were you? So would you class Lubbock, because you've lived there the longest, your actual hometown, or the place you were born is maybe your hometown, and now Lubbock is your adopted hometown? Do you even define it like that?
I wouldn't define that at all. I think that home is where your heart is. And I think that's where it's different. If my hometown is wherever my wife and my kids are, I'm going to be going up in a couple weeks to watch my son graduate from Cincinnati. And for that moment, that time, that's going to be where my home is. My home is where my family is, whether it be in Cincinnati, whether it be in Cleveland, whether it be in New York, whether it be in Dallas, whether it be in Lubbock, whether it be Oklahoma City, whether it be, Oklahoma. I think we all go, well, I was born X, and that's where my home. I think we put too much stock into where we think we're from, but we're really from wherever the people that we care about and love are around.
It's like the Marvin Gaye song, like "Wherever I Lay My Hat," that's my home, and I like that. Do you feel that sometimes, because you mentioned obviously family is very important to you, clearly. Do you think your hometown identity changes as you have children? So maybe if it was just you and your wife pre-kids, maybe less of a hometown identity because you might have liked to travel or go to different places. And then with kids, maybe it's more settled.
Nope, not at all. My wife, Joanna, is one of the saltiest, sweetest, wonderful women in this world. She encourages me to be a better man each day. She lifts me up when I am at my lowest. She picks me up she pulls me down from when I think I'm better than I should be. She keeps me grounded, and she is probably the best thing in my life, next to my rescue dog, Sunny. I'm just checking if she was going to walk back in. But as Joe is my life, Shelby is my life, my daughter, Ryan is my life, my son. It's not a matter of, one person. One person does not define a life. The people and friends and family, sometimes family isn't about who you were born with. Family could be, I've got friends who are in Oklahoma, and they've watched me at my lowest, and they've helped me to become who I am right now. And I didn't choose them. I didn't get to choose them as family, but they're part of my family. Sometimes family are the people that you are related to and the people that you choose to bring into your life.
And I think that's a perfect way to tie everything together from our conversation, because it ties perfectly back to when you mentioned you shared that story of when you were there for your friend, even when sometimes your friend was trying to push you away, didn't want you, but you were there, and I'm sure he looks at you as family as well, Sean. So I appreciate that answer, mate. Thank you.
Always, Danny. Now it's time for...
As is our wont, to make it fair on every guest, I put you on the spot for 30, 35 minutes or whatever. It's only fair. I'm going to dread saying this line as I always do, but it's only fair that I now throw the question chair over to you, good sir.
What does creativity mean to you? Is it free flowing, or does it involve your heart and soul? Because we have to be creative to create podcasts like Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon, or 5 Random Questions, or my other podcast, or all the great podcasts that are out there. What does creativity mean to you, and how does it make you a better person?
I think it's about both. You'd mentioned there, is it about the creation process or the freedom? And I think if I think of artists and movie makers and like singers, bands, etc., that I love, like go watch, etc., there's always something that's distinctly them. The directing style of Jan de Bont, for example. He might not be everybody's cup of tea, but you know what you're going to get with him. The musical style of Björk, if you listen to her albums. And I think it's creativity is what that person brings that might be different, or is that individuality? I think of my you've shared, about your family, and I think of my two kids when they were younger. And any kid I feel is probably like this, where they're creative from a very young age. They'll try anything. Nothing's out of bounds for them. That can't be done because of whatever, and they'll always colour outside the lines. They don't care about lines. And I feel creativity is what we are as people until it's taught out of us. And that may not make sense. I'll try to explain it without going long-winded rambling. I find that either as parents, as educators, as adults, we can take creativity away from kids, and that stops them being creative in later life, because you take the fear out. You say you have to colour between the lines. It's silly. You're making a mess. It's smudgy. You've got to stop believing in this book because you're 10 years old now. You shouldn't be reading this book now. You're too old or whatever. So I feel like creativity, and this might not make sense, but I feel like creativity is our ability to just go wherever, and it makes us feel right and good. And if others like it, great.
So do you feel that creativity is the absence of fear?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that it kind of bridges that bravery, because if you talk about fear, you've got to have the yin yang, and also you got fear, bravery, that kind of stuff. But I feel so because it's not caring if no one likes it. It's not caring if someone's going to put you down. It's not caring if one person thinks it's good, but the rest of the world thinks it's horrible. It's your creation. It's what you thought of. It's what you like. It's what you've brought to the world. I don't know if that answers your question, mate. I feel like I've kind of gone on little tangents trying to... And I think that's the thing with creativity. Is it definable?
I never said there was a right or wrong answer. I mean, come on, 5 random questions. Every question is an adventure. And, we have to be brave to be creative.
I would agree. What would you, just if I'm allowed to throw it back at you, what would you define as creativity?
Oh, he wants a bonus.
I'm not going for a 6th question. You can say, hey, Danny, I've only got paid for 5. Get out of here. He didn't get paid, by the way. I'm too cheap.
Getting paid? What? Creativity to me is the ability of sharing skills, talents, your emotions, anything that sets you aside from another person. Because there are things that we are good at. Me asking questions, listening, those are things that I'm good at. Woodworking? No. You try to ask me to be creative with woodworking, that's just asking for a hospital visit. You helping people be a better podcaster. You're incredibly creative at that. You're incredibly passionate about that. I think creativity is wherever you find the passion to share skills that you have and that you're good at with others.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the scripts or Overlord or Underlord tool, and I'm going to flip my voice onto that answer, and I'm going to make that my answer. And I will, whatever you say online and try and counter that. No, I like that. That's a great definition.
Well, I've been back up recording, so I've got the proof here right there.
Exactly. I don't even use the script, so I can't even nick your voice there for that. But I like that. I'm going to take that and I'll take a pinch of that as well. But yeah, I like that. Well, thanks for the question. And like I say, I find it hard to define it, but I like your answer. So Sean, I really enjoyed this. I'm going to say as much as I enjoyed our other chat, and I did. And that's the last time I'm going to reference that. That's the last time. But I really enjoyed this. I knew I would. I always enjoy talking to you, mate. For people that want to listen to any of the 600 or all of the 600 episodes or plus episodes of Beyond the Mic, also maybe your sports podcasts and stuff that you do, which I'll leave the links to in the show notes, or just connect and hang out with you online, or even maybe come and visit you in Texas sometime. How can people best connect with you and listen to all the cool stuff you do?
You can find me on beyondthemic.com or anywhere you can find on podcasts, Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon, SeanDillon. I'm always available on the Good Pods app. And you can also find me at beyond-the-mic.captivate.fm.
We have to make that URL easier for you, mate. Well, I will get like a nice little short URL for you. But yeah, and as always, I will leave these links in the show notes. So whatever podcast app you're listening on, or if you're listening online at the website, be sure to check out the show notes, and everything will link out to Sean and all the cool stuff that he's doing. So again, Sean, I really appreciate you coming on today and taking part in 5 random questions.
Dandy, it's always a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks for listening to 5 Random Questions. If you enjoyed this week's episode, be sure to follow for free on the app you're currently listening on, or online at 5randomquestions.com. And if you feel like leaving a review, well, that would make me happier than the continuation of this show after 100 episodes after having someone on who's clearly jinxed as a guest. I'm joking. But seriously, if you really want to leave a review, it would make my day. Until the next time, keep asking those questions.